Well, this is just going way too far. Let's begin. The article says that a woke GP surgery is under fire for asking patients to state if their baby is trans or non-binary. And get this, the clinic also gives them the choice of registering their newborn's gender as other or not stated. Woodgate Valley Health Centre in Birmingham claimed that the options were just part of its form for new joiners to the surgery, but NHS England told The Sun that woke options are not part of a nationwide policy. A patient then shared an online picture of the form, and its options are male, including trans man, female, including trans woman, non-binary, other not listed or not stated. Another patient said, "That's insane." Free Speech Union director Toby Young called it an invitation to woke parents to impose their crazy ideas about sex and gender on their newborns. He said, "Wouldn't it be more responsible for this GP practice to refer parents who cannot tell the sex of their babies to be looking at their genitals to a psychiatrist?" A source said, "To think a newborn baby can be signed up as anything other than male or female shows just how ridiculous the gender discussion and woke culture has become." The surgery said the form is our standard new patient registration form for any new patient, which includes, but is not limited to, parents registering a newborn baby. Well, of course I don't know about you, but I think all this woke stuff has gone way too out of hand. I mean, admittedly they do say it's their standard patient registration form, but then again, you'd think that at least for health reasons, the doctor would need to know the sex in which you were born into, because let's face it, breast cancer is more common in women, isn't it? And also, cancer of the penis can hardly be found on a woman, can it? Well, of course, unless you ask Keir Starmer or Sir Ed Davey, then their answer may be different. But that aside, it just makes you wonder what's next, doesn't it? I mean, they may then decide to spread it out to all the 100-odd other genders there apparently are. At least according to all these woke nutcases anyway. Maybe, who knows, they could even start with objects. "I identify as a helicopter, so that is my gender from now on. Oh, I know, I'm Mr. Blobby now, so I can't get any of those human conditions." It's just absolutely ridiculous. It just seems no end in sight, does there? And personally, if anything, I think if Labour get in, all this woke stuff is just going to increase, isn't it? Because they do appear to be on the woke people's side of things, rather than, of course, the common sense side of things, in my opinion. Although one day, quite worryingly, I think that if all this continues, either male or female will no longer be stated at all, and on forms it will say, which private part do you have? Penis or vagina? But then again, that might not even be enough for them, so it just seems like there's no satisfying these sort of people, depending on whatever their latest brainwave is or something that needs changing. I personally hope that this does not roll out nationally, and even though the doctor or health practice, it seems, wants to be inclusive, I personally don't think that's a good idea and could also confuse patients' records from the past. I mean, have they never heard the term go woke, go broke? Because let's face it, if they weren't funded by the NHS, then I'm guessing they probably would be. Vape sellers will be banned from giving kids free samples under a crackdown on addictive e-cigarettes. The PM from today will announce that the fruit and candy flavoured nicotine-free gateway vapes aimed at teens will face a total ban, as previously revealed by The Sun. Anti-vape squads will be able to issue on-the-spot fines to shops illegally selling vapes to under 18s under government proposals. Kids will learn about harmful effects of vaping at school, as they already do for smoking and boozing. Spot checks for vapes sold at car boot sales, corner shops and online will aim to stamp out any under-the-counter flogging to children. The rampant social media vape adverts could also face a ban in future. And writing for The Sun today, Rishi Sunak vows to tackle the grim reality of the surge in underage vaping, adding, "Nothing is more important than protecting our kids." The PM even reveals he had fretted over his own daughters, Christina and Akrusha, I pronounced that right, facing temptation from the devices. Shocking NHS statistics show 1 in 10 children aged 11 to 15 use e-cigs, even though selling them for under 18s is illegal. In 2023, a survey of 11 to 17-year-olds by Action on Smoking and Health, 2 out of 5 people said they smoke vapes to just give it a try. About 1 in 5 say they sample e-cigs because other people use them. And recent research by the BBC, so who knows how accurate that is, but anyway, has shown nicotine in nicotine-free vapes, with others even including lead. Now, of course, as a parent myself, I hate the idea that children can buy something so easily, it seems, and get hooked on what is often referred to as a gateway drug, which could then lead on to cigarettes, who knows what else if they don't want to stop there. And of course, whilst the vast majority of people apparently use e-cigarettes without much problems at all, saying something like they're better than normal cigarettes, What they've got to remember is that occasionally we do hear stories in the papers saying something like, my children tried it with their mates and it messed up their lungs, they had to go to hospital and they'll never be the same again, or something like that. And the fact that they are marked for sale to over 18 surely emphasise the fact that kids should not be having these things. And I personally don't like the idea at all of my 15-year-old having some crap put through his body, which may cause him to actually be addicted to these things for life. And yes, apparently people do say it's better than smoking, but it just makes you wonder what other risks there might be with these things. A victorious driver has won a payout of more than £1 million from an injury caused by a pothole. The unnamed motorist received a huge sum of £1,188,565.25 after a 4-year legal battle over the dodgy road. The mammoth payout by the Labour-run Welsh Government, there's a surprise, is thought to be one of the UK's biggest ever made. The compensation, paid 4 years after the motorist was injured sometime in 2018 to 2019, was unveiled under a Freedom of Information Act request, found dozens of similar claims. The figures revealed the Welsh Government had settled 11 claims for pothole-related vehicle damage over the past 5 years and 2 claims for injuries. Over that time, the typical highest payout for vehicle damage claims was £1,077. There's quite a bit of difference, isn't it? Furious campaigners, though, are demanding action, with lead crusader Mark Morell, known as Mr Pothole, claiming badly kept roads cost the UK up to £10 billion a year. Mr Morell said, until there is proper road resurfacing programmes, things like this will get worse. Pothole repairs have fallen to the lowest figure in a decade, though, as inflation squeezes councils' budgets. A total of £1.4 million were filled last year at a cost of £93.7 million. Now, of course, I don't know if it's just me, but if it's a funding problem, I think it is disgraceful of councils to either leave it longer before filling these things in, or maybe not fill them in at all, hoping that people will just be okay, because let's face it, they can actually cause quite a lot of accidents, can't they? And injury too. I myself used to ride a motorbike and I was quite a careful rider, although admittedly I did have the occasional Superman impression of it, and one of which was actually caused by a pothole when I was slowing down and actually turned funny into it. Unfortunately though, that was at a time when cameras on phones weren't actually common, and when I went back to take a picture it had been filled in, just my luck, eh? But you get the idea of what I'm saying at least. I personally think that the council employees on their way to jobs should actually carry out visual inspections of roads, and when they get to their destination they can just say, oh, there was a pothole on Southtown Road or wherever else, and then the next day or later on that day hopefully someone will come along and fill it in. But let's face it, that doesn't really seem to be on their top priorities, does it? And with more and more roads getting built every year, this problem is only going to get worse, isn't it? Until the time that some smart ass will come up with a new material that can be put on roads, which will no longer be susceptible to creating potholes at all. Either that or maybe hovering cars from Back to the Future 2 might be available. Although I don't think that'll be in my lifetime at all. It just makes me wonder though, especially these days, where the cost of living and the cost of running the companies or council funding gets cut even further, that they may even start to cut the quality of the materials and therefore might require more repairs in general, only surely adding to any such problems we currently face. Anyway, subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.